I'm Diana.
And I'm Drew.
We're here today to give you some tips on how to hang pictures, mirrors, anything that goes on the wall. We have a few ideas to make your life easier. Drew will go over some things, and I'll maybe add some things here and there, but Drew's going to take the lead on what you should have on this toolbox at home to make your life easier.
Yeah. So just some nice basic tools that you should have around the house for some basic things that you want to do. Obviously, more intensive stuff, you're going to need some more intensive tools. But just basic stuff like hanging pictures, mirrors, that sort of thing. This stuff's going to be great for you. First thing you always want to have in a toolbox is a hammer. Hammers are very versatile, useful things. It's important to have a claw on it because, like Diana always says,
you need the claw because not that you want to make a mistake, but it's probably going to happen. So the claw is there to take the nail out.
Yeah, this is your undo right here.
That is undo. Do and undo. I like it, Drew.
Yeah. So with the hammer, we got nails. We have a recommendation on the types of nails that you use because when you're hanging things, you want something that's got a pretty good head on it. And the reason why that's important is you're going to have that to catch either the bracket that you're hanging the picture from or the picture wire. So that way when it's hanging on the wall, you're not worried about it sliding off your nail that doesn't have a head on it and falling to the ground, which is not what we want.
No, we do not want that, and not that I've had that happen before. I have. So that's not good either.
So this is the picture wire here. There's a couple ways that you can hang up pictures or mirrors, wherever you're trying to hang. You can either use the brackets that come on the thing itself, or if you don't want to line up both of those holes perfectly and line them up, get them all nice and level and everything, you can cheat and use this stuff.
It is kind of cheating, but what you do is you just cut a strip maybe a little bit longer than both of the brackets, twist it around, go through, twist it around, and then make sure it's tight enough that when you hang the picture, obviously you don't want to see the wire above the frame of the picture or the clock or whatever you're trying to hang. So get it tight, you know it's sturdy, then all you have to do is measure, and we'll show you that there, but you don't want too much give in it to get that arch over the picture. But it's a good way if you don't really want to line up the brackets on the wall. It's a kind of a little cheater, but a good tip.
Yeah. And while we're doing that, you're going to need a level. I've got two sizes of level here, and really for your own little toolbox at home, you only need the little one. Big levels you really only need for the bigger projects that are going to be really super obvious if you're off even a little bit. So if you've got like a really big painting or a really big mirror that you're trying to hang, you want the bigger one just to make sure that it's all going to line up perfectly. Otherwise, just your little pictures, paintings, normal stuff that you're going to put on the wall, little guy's going to be plenty for you.
If I'm hanging that big mirror or picture, Drew, I'd like to have you around.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Give me a call, I'll hold it for you.
All right, that sounds good. And we do at the home store. Drew, can you help me? So, good to have him.
Yeah. And while we're doing that, we've got this nice little masking tape here, or you could also use painter's tape if that makes you more comfortable, whatever you've got handy. You can use this to mark yourself out on the wall, and the reason why you use masking tape instead of something like duct tape is this isn't going to strip the paint off your walls, which would be very counterproductive when you're trying to make the house look nicer.
That would be bad.
So we've got the nice little masking tape here. You got a pencil with an eraser to mark it off with. So you can use this on the wall or the masking tape itself. You can take your eraser and clean up your mess when you're done. We've also got.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, we've got a mallet. We can go there. So we actually don't have a mallet with us because, lucky us, we didn't bring one. So it's not imperative to our tool chest. But if you ever need something where you're going to be banging with a hammer and you're worried about leaving those elephant prints, those are those things that they always call when you're banging in a nail and it leaves a nice little ring around them. Looks like an elephant's footprint. You usually use a mallet to avoid getting that. Alternative is anything nice and hard that you don't mind messing up. So, scrap brick of wood, deck of cards, anything nice and hard that doesn't have a whole lot of give to it that you're not afraid to damage. All you do is you take that.
I'm going to hit my finger.
I'm not going to hit your fingers, I promise.
Okay.
All you do is you take that, you lay it on the net of the nail once you've got it started a little bit, and then you drive it all the way in with the hammer. So that way all of your markings go on the scrap piece of wood or whatever you don't need, and it leaves your counter or whatever you're trying to hammer into nice and clean.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
Did you think of that?
I didn't,
Oh.
but
Well, that's
if I
smart.
did, I'd patent it.
Okay. Well, that was good. I like it. Good with it.
We've also got a nice measuring tape here. You can get pretty much any measuring tape that you would like, but our recommendation would be something that's like about an inch thick. So when you've got it pulled out, it's not going to bend and fall on you like that. So you got it nice and straight and easy, so you don't have to have somebody necessarily holding the other end.
And
Diane also
yes,
likes to have...
a big plus for me is big, bold numbers so that you can see. You know, you need to know if it's 10 or 11 inches, you know, that little bit of play makes a difference. So please make sure that your measuring tape has big, you know, bold numbers that you can read. Makes it a lot easier.
Also over here, we've got 2 sets of screwdrivers. The reason why we don't just have one is because you've got a lot of popular screws have either a flathead or a Phillips head, or the minus and plus, as some people like to call them. So you've got the 4-prong here with the Phillips head. A lot of screws are going to use that, but a few will only have room for a flathead. So it's good to have both available to you.
Yes, and both available, and also I might add, please have extra screws or nails either in your pocket or in your hand. I know, you know, as you're trying to hammer, because ultimately one nail or screw is going to fall down. If you're on a ladder and you're in the home store and you hear us go, Kim, you know, April, somebody help, I dropped a nail or a screw. It does happen. So have extras in your pocket if you can. Little tip.
Yeah. We also have one other thing that's not necessarily imperative for your tool chest, but if you like moving around furniture a lot and you don't want to have somebody there with you, hurrying you along, getting impatient with getting it just centered perfectly, these things are really nice. You get them at pretty much any hardware store. They're just called sliders. All you do is you put them on each contact point with the ground, and then once you've got them up on there, the furniture moves like it's on ice. It's really nice.
It's awesome. It's fun. We do a lot of that here.
Yeah. So we've got those, and since we've talked about everything, you want to go hang a picture?
Oh, I'd love to hang a picture. Let's do it.
Let's
go. Thanks, everyone, for coming, following us over here to the wall. We're going to show you today how to hang a picture, a mirror, anything to give you some tips to maybe make it a little bit easier for you. I'm going to start off, and then Drew's going to take over. We're going to go back and forth with some little tidbits. My first thing, and this is as far as a print goes, the rule of thumb seems to be 5 foot to the middle of the picture. It seems like people want to automatically raise the prints up where you have to look up. So a good rule of thumb is 5 foot to the middle of the print or the picture. Today we're going to use a mirror. So sorry, we just told you about a print, but that's kind of the thing that helps us show you with the 2 different ways we're going to do it, which stringing the wire through and also hanging it on the bracket. So first thing you want to do is get the tape measure that you say, get one that you can read. And what we want to do is we want to go up 5 feet. So that's the first step. And Drew's going to mark.
Yeah. So she's got 5 foot up there.
I do.
I've got a little piece of masking tape here that I'm going to mark that 5 feet off at. So right there. And obviously it doesn't look like the masking tape is that precise of a mark. So I always use the very bottom of it as my spot where I'm measuring off of. And then we're going to take a nice long piece. Doesn't matter how long, just as long as it's long enough to stick out at one end of whatever you're hanging. So there's the middle, a little bit will stick off the end. So we're going to stick this on the wall right here at the 5 foot mark. Again, with the bottom of the tape being exactly 5 feet. Make sure that's on there nice and tight because, like I said, it's kind of loosely sticking because that's the masking tape, not ripping paint off your walls. And we've got a drill today because most houses at home, you got drywall. You should be able to get in with a screwdriver, but the wood's too hard for us to get through with a screwdriver. So we're going to use a drill for this demo. But again, same idea as using a screwdriver.
And we also, it's cheating a little bit. We didn't have to measure 5 foot to the middle of the picture because obviously we have a little bar and we know the middle of the mirror here. But you would have to measure your print to find out the middle of your print and then just kind of eyeball that from that. That's what we do. So
now, to get that to line up, we need a measuring tape.
I do.
Yeah. So, we're going to start with the first style of hanging piece, and that's going to be a screw in each of our little brackets here. So we've got 2 screws that we're going to need to match up with them, and I'm going to go ahead and measure from the bottom of the bracket where the screw is going to sit and hold it, which is this top bar right here. that is 2.5 exactly. So 2.5 inches from the top of the frame here. And then we're going to go ahead and measure from the center of the picture, which is that part right there, to the top, which is exactly 15.5 inches.
I'll second hold it there. Here we go.
So about 15.5 inches right there. So we take the 15 minus the 2.5, and that means that we need to go 13 inches up from the 5 foot mark, which my mark's starting to come down.
It is, yeah, it's starting to fall down on you.
So what did I say, 14 inches?
13 and a half.
13 and a half?
Because it was a half.
Okay. Where-
It was 2.5.
Okay. So it was 2.5 from the top, and it was 15 and a half, so it should be 13 even,
Okay.
right?
I would check the tapes,
gonna
but we're
measure
filming.
again. We're not sure.
Okay, all right.
So to be
Sounds
safe,
good.
yeah. Because it's always better to measure twice before you start lifting your
It
hands.
is. And I'll write it on my hand this time. How about that?
So we've got 15.5 inches from the middle of the picture, and we've got 2.5 inches from where the piece is going to hit. So it's going to be 13 inches.
I hate
From
to
the
say, were
center.
you right?
That's right.
Gosh, I hate that so much.
So, like I said from before, I was measuring from the very bottom is going to be that 5 foot mark. So we want 13 inches here from that. So right here
Okay.
is going to be our line. Okay.
See it? Do I need a little bit?
This is
Sorry.
a little darker.
Can you do it? You're
Yeah.
a little bit higher than I am.
I can see. So 13 right on the bottom. Right about there. That's our bullseye. So that's where we want our screws to set. Now, that being said, we're going to have 2 screws, and neither of them are going right there. So, we are going to take,
This is the trick.
this is my little trick
Yeah,
of
this
masking
is
tape.
this is fun. Oh, oh. Oh, not don't do that.
Yeah. Make sure your tape's not goobered up before you
Exactly.
start. Nice clean edge. And then, all you have to do is take on the back of this thing, instead of measuring, aligning, cutting, getting all that stuff lined up right, all you have to do, oh no,
I know it wants to pull.
this is a very good tape.
Sorry, everyone.
Okay. So, take it from one end all the way to the other,
Got it?
so that you cover both of the brackets where you're going to have those things hit. So that's long enough. We're going to take it, tear it off, and then we're going to stick it on the back of it. It doesn't really matter where, just somewhere that it'll hold to and not get in your way too much. So we're going to do that, and then take your pencil and mark. I'm going to mark right at the bottom of the tape here, somewhere where I know where the screw is going to end up hitting. So, right here. That's where I'm going to put my screw. Got a nice little spot there. Make sure it's nice and even on the same spot on the other side. And again, right where you're going to have your screw hit on this little bracket here, we're going to put a little target. And then,
This is the magic that happens, right, Drew?
yes, this is the best part.
I love this part.
So, you can take this right up to where your line was at 15 inches above, or 13 inches above, rather. Right there. Now, this is where you're going to want to make sure that everything is nice and level, because this is where your screws are going to go. Now, Diana, you've got a better eye for this. Does that look pretty well in the middle of where you want it?
It does. It looks, yep, that's exactly where. And like I said, it's a mirror, so bear with us. It would normally be a print, but, so, yeah, that's good. Our tape is,
Coming off again.
yeah, our tape
It's
is
this
being
wood.
very
It's
nice.
very porous. So, what you can do now is measure off of your tape. Make sure it's nice and level. So this right side is up just a little bit.
looks
And in
like it
case
was
you don't
up.
know how to read a level, you want the bubble to be in the very center. So if this side is up, the right side's up, that side's up, the left side's up. So put that up there.
True, I love whoever invented that level.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
That's awesome.
Actually, that's pretty. Saying that the one side is pretty high, but that's pretty good.
Looks right in the middle to me.
Yeah, the right side's just up a little bit, but we
Okay.
can adjust that when we actually go to screw.
Okay,
So-
sounds good.
Remember those marks we made? All we gotta do is put the screws right through there. And I was saying that this right side's a little bit higher, so I'm gonna go just a little bit lower on that one that I had made. And
Girls
again,
high speed, watch out.
yeah. And again, you can just do this into your drywall with a screwdriver. And it's important when you're going in with this to leave your screw head out just a little bit. And that's going to be so that you have a spot for that bracket to hit. And the thicker the metal is, or whatever the bracket is made of on the thing here, the thicker or the further out you're going to want your screw to go.
Right, and
so
that
we've
is
got,
really, really important.
yeah, because you don't want to have to go to hang it and not be able to get it to latch on there.
Exactly.
So I've got that out a good finger's width from the wall.
And that's
Again,
where those big-headed screws or big-headed nails
Come
come
in.
into play
Very
to
handy.
have them them cut here.
And this doesn't have to be done with screws either. You could also use your nails
Right.
to do this instead. And we're going to take this one, again, right in that little bullseye that I had made earlier. Straight in there, a little bit out. Then you can pull your masking tape down, because that was just basically your guide.
This is the magic. I love it. It's fun.
And
And can I also say, make sure your nails or screws are in kind of compliance with how heavy your picture or your mirror. You don't want flimsy screws with, or nails with like this heavy of a mirror or a picture.
right.
So that would not be good.
Exactly. And we are not infallible, so we
Right.
want to make sure that the screws, now when we
Right.
put them in, are nice and level. So we're going to grab our bigger level here,
We are. Have it.
because this should span the distance a little bit better for us. And we're going to make sure that between these two screws, so actually
You
I
need
can use,
the
since
yards.
this one's not long enough, I can just put this
Gotcha.
right in line with that and balance it on the two. We're nice and level.
Right in the middle.
Yep. So, we're good to go with the picture.
Do you want the pat on the back now, Drew, or later?
We'll make sure we get it up there perfectly first.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll save it.
Okay. So
All right.
now we should just be able to go straight up onto the wall. Line it up with your brackets. And there it is.
I love it when the plan works. That's awesome. Let's
There's
you
that.
want to get it? You got it?
And then you grab your level for your final check of evenness. And it's a little bit off, but that's probably just the way it's sitting on there.
Looks
There we go.
perfect from here. Yay!
Nope.
All right.
So that's the first method with the two screws and into the brackets already made.
Right.
So we'll pull that down.
Right. Good
And we'll
job.
do
Now,
Diana's little demonstration.
now
with the wire.
I did cheat and I pre-measured the wire so that you wouldn't see me fumbling trying to cut this wire. And the same thing with the screws. Your wire should be really in the same, thickness as your picture as far as weight. So you don't want a flimsy wire and a heavy print. Not a good marriage. So what we do is, like I said, I already pre-cut it. So what you can do is you can wrap one side around, and this is nice and thick, like I said. And what you do is you don't have to wrap it, which is great, too many times, like 2 or 3 times, and that's not going anywhere. So you want to pull it nice and tight. That's the thing. You want to go over to the other side. Now this is if you don't want to put 2 screws in the wall or 2 nails, and you don't want to mess with the level. So what you would have to do, first of all, and Drew kind of already explained to you about that, is find the exact distance and giving this a little bit of play. So you'd probably be down, what, maybe an inch there, Drew, I would imagine, from where you want to hang it.
Yeah,
So-
well, it's going to matter most where your brackets are at, so
Right.
it's all about getting it nice and taut when you
Right,
draw it across to
exactly
the other
right.
side.
So then you just do it like this. So then you have your little, then your wire to, then you don't need these two. You would just need one right in the middle, and you hang it up. And you just want to make sure that it's tight enough, like Drew was saying, and we talked to you earlier. You don't want the wire above the mirror or the print. So you just make sure it's tight enough that, and then you just hang it from here, and the same, everything applies, just the same thing. So that's a little tip if you don't want to make two holes in the wall.
Yep, and
So-
we can show you that real quick if we've got
Okay,
stuff for
sure.
it. We might as well.
All right.
So what we can do, since we've already got these two split or already set up, what you would do starting off is you would find the two edges of your picture, mark them on the wall, and then you're going to take your yardstick, measure the or your measuring tape rather, find that distance, which in this case is 30 and a half, and you're going to divide that by 2, and that's where you're going to put your screw at. So 30 and a half would be what, 15 and a quarter?
Yeah.
So we've got 15 and a quarter between these two screws. And Diana,
I
you
am.
want to mark that
I will.
15 and a quarter for me?
If I can reach, you're a little
Yeah,
taller
it's
than
right there.
I am. All right.
Reach that all right? Got a nice dark mark there for us.
Did I get it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good. So we got 15 and a half.
I was on my tiptoes, Drew.
Nice. Like a ballerina.
Wait, yeah. Yeah. Just like ballerina.
Exactly. So we're going to pull out.
I told you that one has some V8.
So we're just going to pull that out, put the new one right in the spot there.
All right.
And this is going to be an arm. So let's get that out of there. Alrighty. And then
All right. You got it.
we're just going to take the wire. I like to hold it straight by the wire like that, so when I go to hang it, it's right between my hands. So I know exactly where the wire is at, and I'm not trying to fish around to get it hooked on there. And just like that. And we didn't quite make it taut enough that it's going to hide the wire as it stretches, but the general idea is just like that.
Like that.
Hung up right in the middle there, and it's nice and easy to level out when it's on that wire. You see, I just have a pretty good eye for it, so it's right nice and center there, but you know, if you haven't had the experience, you can just move it like that to level it out. So that's not level, and right about there is level. So it's a nice easy adjustment rather than unscrewing your screws,
Right.
realigning, remeasuring
Right.
with
Just
the wire.
leveling.
You just shift it.
And it is a little easier if the brackets are down. But all wires are going to bend,
Yeah.
and that one's pretty tight, and we do go through that. But when the brackets are down a little bit on your print or picture,
Yep.
you are going to have like maybe a 2-inch arc. It's just going to happen.
Yep.
So
it's
yeah,
a lot
but-
easier if your brackets, like if you were on the other
Exactly.
side, if they were like
Right.
here and here to do the wire, to hide the wire.
and how heavy the print is. So
Yeah.
But
and
it-
this mirror is going to be heavier than most prints. that we
exactly.
make.
So that's the. So we apologize
little
for that.
trade-off,
But
but
yeah, it is. So
Gets
but
the point
yeah,
across.
it does.
Yeah.
So all right, Drew.
All right,
Another
wanna
good
move some
job.
furniture?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, let's
All
go move
right.
some
You want me to
furniture.
help you?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. For our last segment, it's how to move a large piece of furniture. And the first way, we're going to show you how I call on the walkie. Drew, can you help me move a piece of furniture? And Drew's always happy to oblige. And this is how he moves a piece of furniture.
The hard way
The hard way.
is taking it and moving it like that.
All right.
But not everybody's going to be able to do that in their own home.
Right.
So we've got the nice little slider things we were talking about earlier.
So,
And Diana
right.
is able to leverage this piece of furniture one side at a time. She leans it, I slide the stuff underneath, and we're good to go.
So we make sure somebody's ready. I lean it one way, and we say all clear. That goes down so we don't hurt anybody's fingers. Go to the other side. Oops, sorry. I need to get this out of the way. And then we just leverage again.
These sliders are just going on the four corners of the thing, so that it's no longer touching the ground.
And we're all clear, and then it's just like magic. So we move easy,
Nice.
and if you're doing it by yourself, you can even just move it out of the way, and this is what I do. Just get your legs into it, and just so move it to where you go. What you have to watch out for with the sliders, they are able to transition from like linoleum to carpet, but just make sure you're aware that you could hit a little bit of a bump, and you might need a little bit more pressure when you're going from carpet to linoleum, or vice versa.
Hey, Diana, could you tilt it and take one out with your foot? Could you show how easy that is?
Sure.
If you're 100% by yourself?
Yep, 100%. We got this guy. I think I left one in the dust back there because I was going so fast. And this. And
Easy peasy in case you're ever by yourself.
And then we're done.
And they slide back under just as easily as well. You can just have them set out, ready to go before you tilt it, kick them under.
Yeah. So that ends our little clip for today, Drew.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice work
As
with you,
always,
Diana.
you too.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in. See you next time.